Hi, this is E.T. Today, something different, a story. It relates to bodybuilding, and it has, figuratively and literally, a Hollywood ending. The story begins in a small North Idaho mining town, where lived Julia, a pretty teenage girl. That's not the name by which you know her. During the 1930s Depression, few Idaho employment opportunities existed, especially for females. So Julia and her mother moved to Southern California. One afternoon, playing hooky from Hollywood High School, Julia stepped into the Top Hat Cafe and a career. She was wearing a skirt and sweater when she was eyed by Billy Wilkerson of The Hollywood Reporter. He asked, "How would you like to be in pictures?" By 1939, Julia was sharing marquee space with actors Lou Ayres, Mickey Rooney, Lionel Barrymore, and Richard Carlson. The 1940s were a busy decade for her. In 1944, she was in Marriage as a Private Affair with James Craig and John Hodiak. 1946, The Postman Always Rings Twice, based on a James Cain novel. It starred John Garfield. 1948, she was in The Three Musketeers with June Allison and Gene Kelly. As the 1950s progressed, she graduated to more mature roles. But her private relationships became even more volatile. She'd already survived 7 unsuccessful marriages, one to Artie Shaw, the band leader, another to restaurateur Steve Crane, who fathered Julia's only child, Cheryl. She was married to Lex Barker, the socialite, an actor. He starred as Tarzan, a well-known bodybuilder about whom we'll have more in a coming episode. And there were numerous affairs, including one with Johnny Stompanato. That's a surname with onomatopoeic irony. Stompanato was a World War II Marine. He served honorably in the South Pacific. After the war, he became a strong-arm guy for gangster and former boxer Mickey Cohen. Cohen, by the way, replaced Bugsy Siegel, represented in the Godfather film as Moe Green, as mob controller of Hollywood unions and some national politicians. Anyway, more about Stompanato shortly. Around the time of the release of the film Latin Lovers, starring Julia, John Lund, and Ricardo Montalban, Tommy, a Scot, was competing in a Mr. Universe contest, but he was searching for more remunerative work, acting. In 1957, he landed a role in the film Another Time, Another Place, and was rumored to be having an affair with his co-star, Julia. The news infuriated Stompanato, who flew to London, stormed onto the movie set, threatened Tommy and Julia with a loaded pistol, then was quickly disarmed and knocked about by Tommy. Months later, on March 26 of 1958, at Julia's Beverly Hills home, she and Stompanato had a vicious row. Following her attendance at the annual Academy Awards event, she'd received a Best Actress nomination for her role as Constance Mackenzie in the film Peyton Place. There to witness the row was Julia's daughter, Cheryl Crane. A few days later, on the evening of April 4, 1958, again at Julia's home, after an evening of Julia's and Johnny's screaming and fighting, Cheryl Crane plunged a knife into Stompanato's abdomen, or, as she testified later, he fell into it. Stompanato died on the second-story bedroom floor. Following Julia's and her daughter's testimony, probably some studio intrigue too, an inquest found that Cheryl acted in defense of her mother and herself. In the weeks and months to come, Peyton Place, recipient of 9 Oscar nominations, continued in theaters, where patrons could see Julia portraying herself in newsreels as a witness in the inquest into Stompanato's death, and as Constance Mackenzie on a similar witness stand, being grilled by actor Lorne Greene. It was a confusing juxtaposition. Millennials may wonder who were Julia and Tommy, but those born prior to 1960 probably know. Julia was Lana Turner. Tommy was, and remains, Sean Connery, who'd soon define the character of everyone's favorite sociopath, James Bond. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Please hit both that subscribe and that like button.